Hello everybody, here we are today doing a video on whether or not the Minnesota Wild will make the playoffs. And before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So yeah, some of you may remember that about 3 months ago I did a video where I said Minnesota's playoff hopes were pretty much done for early in the season. They started off the year relatively slow, 5-10-4, and they just were a team that felt like there wasn't enough time. I know there are 63 games left, but when you have 14 points in your first 19 games and you need about 86 points over your final 63 games, that's going to be asking a lot, as it gets you about that 100-point mark where you're generally safe. And there was just other things too that were holding this team back. Dean Evason ends up getting fired, and I think that's not necessarily a thing holding them back, but more of a distraction. You have a guy that's been around for some of these players' entire career, and now they're dealing with the loss of their coach and trying to get things back to focused on winning. But I think things have gone relatively well since November 28th. As that's when Hines took over as the head coach, and this is a team that since then has the 10th best points percentage in the NHL, going 23-14-2 during that run. Has everything been flawless? Has everything been perfect? And no, but this is a team that is now 4 points back of a playoff spot at the moment and has a relatively decent amount of games left to play. And on top of that, too, is a side that since the All-Star break has gone 7-1-1. Really, out of those two losses, only one of them was bad, as they lost 6-3 to Winnipeg. That's going to happen on any given night, but still the fact through 9 games, they've captured so many points. Very good for them, and now we get to talk about whether or not they'll make the playoffs and some things that could be indicators that they have a good chance to make it. So whether or not Minnesota makes the playoffs could very well be tied to 5 games that they play, which are divisional games, those being between the Nashville Predators and the St. Louis Blues. These are two sides that are right there in the wild card conversation. I put out a video earlier today about Nashville and their playoff hopes and what they should do around the deadline. They might go out and make a move. Who knows what St. Louis does, but at the same time, too, Minnesota knows that they have these 5 games in front of them, 3 against St. Louis, which are especially crucial. And while every game is crucial over the final few weeks of the season, you know that when you have multiple games against a team in your division or in your conference, those are going to be critical, whereas teams out east, maybe not so much as what we see with, again, the kind of pack, this bunch, if you will, that are around that wild card spot at the moment. So Minnesota really needs to take care of business there against those teams, but I think something that really could be a good thing for them, which is a great thing for Minnesota fans, if you hear me out on this, is the fact that they have the easiest remaining strength of schedule in the league over the final part of the season, 24 games, and there are some relatively good matchups that you could say the Wild probably have a good chance of winning. They have multiple games left against the Anaheim Ducks, against the Arizona Coyotes, the San Jose Sharks. Now, looking at those 3 teams, these are 3 teams that are not great. Arizona wasn't really that bad that long ago, but now they've lost 12 in a row. I don't exactly know what state they'll be in by the time that the Wild play them. However, at the same time, too, if things continue to run how they have been going, you get to see 3 sides that have really been down on their luck all year, or in recent memory in Arizona's case. And Minnesota could easily take advantage of that. On top of that, too, they have some other games that are relatively favorable. They get to play Chicago, they get to play Ottawa. Not saying that those are guaranteed wins, but when you have the easiest remaining schedule out of the entire league, that's going to be something that gives you a great chance to make the playoffs. Now, do I think they'll get there? It is really difficult because we don't really know what other teams are going to do as the deadline gets a little bit closer. However, I do think I'm leaning a little bit more Minnesota than some other teams. Nashville is a side that just for whatever reason, I feel like they might not be able to get it done. St. Louis, maybe that could be a problem, but the Wild are at a situation where they should have just really keeled over and not been able to compete the remainder of the year. They've been able to bounce back from cap issues. They've been able to bounce back from a slow start, from a coach getting fired, from injuries. And here they are now with fate in their hands. I'm not saying that this is a guarantee that they make it, but you just got to be thankful for the opportunity that you're given and just go and win with the games that are in front of you. I don't know how things are going to go here with Minnesota, but with another thing too being a motivating factor, being Marc-Andre Fleury likely retiring after this season, I'd kind of like to say that this locker room is motivated to get him there. Now, maybe not everybody knows the backstory to Flower. I'm sure they do. But looking at this situation where we say they are somewhat aware of who Marc-Andre Fleury is, just more than the guy that's being their teammate, and knowing what his career and legacy is, knowing this could be his last rodeo, I'd like to think that they're going to give everything to be able to get the job done. And the thing is, too, we all know that they're aware of who he is because he ended up getting 500 wins his career with them not that long ago. So I don't really know. Minnesota is just a team that I did want to talk about, and I did want to say that you can't really make videos about a team being done without possibly having that backfire on you. And in this situation right now, I am that guy. It was a very difficult hill to climb, and it's not even guaranteed that they will climb the hill, but I think that this season, how it finishes could very well give them more hope to get through some of the cap struggles that they'll have next year and say, well, some things went wrong last year, and we still managed to fight back. If we start out the year strong next season, and we are relatively healthy, and we get through some of the issues for next season with the cap, then the year after that could be even better. I don't know. Again, it really just ties back into focus on each game in the moment with all that they have left, but again, at the same time, too, Minnesota fans, I think that there could be a decent amount of W's by the end of the year, and I think they could be one of the harder teams entering the playoffs if they make it. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the Minnesota Wild? Do you think that they'll make the playoffs? Do you think they'll miss? Do you think that next year they'll be better than this year? And what do you think the wildcard teams will be if Minnesota's not there? Let me know all that stuff down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And Eagle of Hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.